half kneeling. In this section of our lower body mobility, we're going to be focusing on the half kneeling position, and there's going to be different ways that we're going to be challenging our mobility here, but the main focus is going to be having one hip in extension while one hip is in flexion. So from a different angle, again, my half kneeling position is I want to drive my back toes into the floor. That way my glute can fire and go into hip extension to keep me stable. And then in my bottom foot, I want to drive that foot into the floor to keep me stable. So remember, one hip is in flexion, which is the hip up top, and one hip is in extension, which is the bottom hip. Active half kneeling hip flexor stretch. I'm using a dowel that I just got from Menards. You can use whatever dowel you have available. I like using the dowel because it does give a base support for yourself, and also you can use it for a multitude of different exercises. So with this active half kneeling hip flexor stretch, I want to press my dowel into the floor, and from this back position, I'm going to pull my hips upward, getting a good stretch throughout the front of my thigh here, and dropping back down. So press and stretch and relax. I like to think that I have a giant belt buckle, and I'm trying to pull my hips up towards the bottom part of my chin. Half kneeling active ankle stretch with the dowel. So grabbing my dowel, I'm going to cross the front part of my ankle here, and I'm going to lean forward, keeping my heel planted, then rock back. So here I'm getting a good stretch throughout the back of my calf and my ankle here, focusing on keeping that hip in extension over here, while this hip moves forward into flexion still, but we're driving our foot into the floor as our knee passes over the dowel. Now, as soon as your heel starts coming off the ground, you're defeating the purpose of the exercise. So really emphasize that your heel is pressing down into the floor. Open half kneeling press out. So now we're going from a half kneeling position to open, which is moving the leg from a closed position to an open position outward. So I'm grabbing my dowel starting at the belly button. I shift my weight to the side here, press outward, pull back in at the belly button. So I'm keeping a tall and tight position. I'm grounding my heel into the floor. I press outward as I reach my knee and hip to the side, pull back. The next part of our half kneeling series is going to be focusing on the upper body. Again, the focus is going to be hip extension and hip flexion of the lower body, but now we're just going to involve some of the upper body involved with the motion as well, because it's still going to benefit the hips. So our half kneeling, hands behind the head rotation. You're going to place your hands behind your head. You're going to tuck your ribs from this position, twist and turn throughout your upper back over the knee that's up. From here, return back to center, twist and turn, really focusing on that upper back, doing a majority of the work. Next is half kneeling arm extended rotation. So your hands are going to be forward here, just like we did with hands behind the head. What we're doing now is we're extending our arm, reaching over, and as I'm reaching, my opposite arm is pointing towards the wall. So I reach back, I twist and turn, reach, and bring back to center. Lastly is our half kneeling rotation with the dowel. So grabbing my dowel, placing it behind my back. I don't want my arms too wide unless we're dealing with some shoulder issues, then you can. But for the most part, we want to be at a 90-degree angle. With this position, I twist and turn over the knee that's up, bring it back to center, and repeat. So what this is allowing me to do is have more tension and restrictions created because of the dowel being a fixed position as I rotate. And I want to make sure that I'm grounding my feet into the floor as I rotate.